Hello and welcome. If you've ever found yourself in a business scenario where you needed to motivate action quickly, but didn't want to risk burning bridges or losing trust, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into a subtle yet highly effective psychological tactic: how to create urgency without crossing that fragile line of trust. We're talking about the fear tactic, how you can apply psychological urgency techniques that drive immediate action but still maintain your credibility. Let's get something straight. Urgency is one of the most powerful tools in business. When used properly, it pushes people to make decisions faster. But here's the catch. If you use it wrong, if you push people into fear without care, you risk alienating them, making them hesitant, or even worse, completely losing their trust. So what we're going to cover today is how to harness the psychological power of urgency, yet ensure that your relationship with clients, partners, or customers stays intact. I'm going to show you step by step how this works, how to execute it, and how to use fear as a tool, not a weapon. Before we jump into the technique itself, let me share something that changed my approach to this whole concept. I remember a few years ago, sitting in a meeting where I had to pitch a new business idea. The clock was ticking, and the decision makers were on the fence. They were holding back, unsure if it was the right time. I could feel the weight of their hesitation. But instead of pushing them with pressure, I subtly created urgency by framing the situation as something time-sensitive, but in a way that respected their decision-making process. I said, "Look, I believe this opportunity aligns perfectly with your business goals, but the window is narrowing, and here's why." Notice that I didn't scream, "Do it now or miss out." I gave them a reason that made the situation feel real, but not desperate. They ended up moving forward, not because I forced them, but because I showed them that the opportunity was valuable but fleeting. And that's the core principle of today's lesson: how to create urgency without the desperation. Now, let's talk about the methodology, the real nuts and bolts behind this. There are several models of urgency that exist within persuasion psychology, and we'll break them down. But I want you to understand, urgency isn't about making someone fear what will happen to them if they don't act. It's about making them feel that not acting will result in a missed opportunity, a lost chance to improve, or even grow. It's a subtle shift, and it's key to making this tactic work effectively. So let's start with a basic psychological concept: scarcity. When people believe that something is in limited supply, they are more likely to act quickly. However, it's not just about making them afraid of missing out. It's about showing them the value of the opportunity in relation to their own desires. For example, a lot of salespeople will use the phrase, "only 5 spots left." That's not inherently wrong, but it's often overused and can feel manipulative if not framed correctly. Here's the catch. You need to show the prospect why the scarcity is meaningful for them. Not just that there's only 5 spots left, but that those 5 spots align with their needs, desires, or goals. Instead of saying, "we have a limited offer," you might say, "we're only offering this unique service to a select few because it's designed to create high-impact results in a short amount of time. With limited capacity, I want to make sure you're in on this." This places the urgency within a context that's both relevant and respectful to them, not just a generic sales pitch. But here's a different angle for you: the fear of regret. Now, this is where things get interesting. Think about it. People fear regret more than they fear missing out. How many times have you heard someone say, "I should have taken that opportunity," or "I wish I had acted sooner"? This fear, the fear of regret, can be a powerful motivator when used correctly. To apply this in a business scenario, consider this approach. The decisions you make now can influence the trajectory of your company for years to come. You don't want to look back in 6 months and wonder what might have been if you'd acted. You're not painting a picture of doom and gloom. You're painting a picture of opportunity that could slip away if action isn't taken. The key here is to make the client feel empowered by the urgency, not trapped by it. Let's shift gears slightly. Now that we've covered some of the basics of urgency, scarcity, and regret, I want to talk about how urgency can also come from a position of exclusivity. People value being part of something exclusive. If you're creating a business deal, offer, or product, don't just make it about time. Make it about their access to something valuable that not everyone gets. For instance, an invitation to an exclusive meeting or event, or access to a special product only available to a select few. Here, you're not using the traditional hurry before it's gone angle. Instead, you're giving them an opportunity to be part of something meaningful, something special. However, I'll pause here for a moment because this approach requires a very delicate balance. Exclusivity works well, but only if your audience feels they've earned it. When you use exclusivity, you need to ensure your clients or customers feel a sense of belonging. Otherwise, it comes across as hollow and manipulative. Now, I'm going to share another small anecdote with you. There was a time when I was negotiating a partnership with a company that was initially hesitant. The deal I presented to them was valuable, but they weren't sure if they wanted to act on it. Instead of pushing them directly, I shifted the conversation and made them feel that being part of this partnership was something that would set them apart from their competitors. You don't want to be the last one to adopt this strategy, I said, because those who do will be seen as innovators. The others? Well, they'll be trying to catch up. It wasn't about fear of losing, but fear of falling behind. And it worked because it was framed as an opportunity to lead, not just an opportunity to act quickly. So with all this, here's the crux of today's lesson. The fear tactic, when used strategically, isn't about creating panic or forcing action through manipulation. It's about presenting the urgency of a situation while ensuring that the decision maker feels respected, informed, and empowered to act. You create urgency by showing what's at stake for them, not what they might lose, but what they might gain and how timing matters. When you do this correctly, you don't just push people to act, you make them want to act. As we wrap this up, I want you to remember this. In business, we have all kinds of tools at our disposal. Fear is a tool, just like trust, respect, or curiosity. When wielded with precision, it can motivate people to make decisions that benefit both you and them. But when misused, it can turn people off completely. So be mindful, stay strategic, and always think about the human element behind every business move. If you found this breakdown helpful, be sure to subscribe and stick around for more deep dives into advanced persuasion techniques. The next video in our series is going to build on this idea and explore even more sophisticated ways to move people toward action without ever crossing that line of trust. I look forward to seeing you there. Remember, in business, clarity is power. Use it wisely.